Hello everyone, welcome back. Well, I finished this piece and I will post a picture in my community page. But I wanted to make a quick video on just one simple tangle, and I thought what I could do is add it to our sunflower page that we had started before. For today, I'll be using my Micron 01 and the Glaze Gelly Roll Pen that I had talked about in the last video as a resist. And I'm going to do it a little bit different than what I did in the previous video, but we'll see how it turns out. And I thought it would look great on this page. So let's start. What I want to do is draw a circle for the middle of my Whimsical sunflower, and I'm thinking where I want to put another one, maybe up over here. And again, just drawing the circle. Eventually this whole page will be filled. I'm doing it piece by piece, so either you learn the tangle, or if you want to create a whole journal page, eventually this page will be filled. Alright, now that we have our circle, I am going to use our Glaze Gelly Roll Pen, and I'm going to use this as a resist, as I talked about in the previous video. This time, I'm going to put circles in the middle, or little orbs in the middle of my sunflower. Let me just show you, because it doesn't always show up on camera. I'm simply going to take this circle, and with my glaze pen, I am going to put orbs, something like this, in the middle. So in case you can't see what I'm doing, that's what I'm drawing. I'm doing it in the glaze pen. And if you haven't seen the prior video, you'll see the effect when we're done. So I love having a journal just to build upon. In a journal like this, I just keep building. So I thought it would be fun and a quick way that I could keep sharing videos and tangles when I have breaks in between. And again, when these dry, you'll notice a bit of a texture. Okay, I'm going to go to this other one and do the same thing. So now what I want to do is let this dry. If you were going to be working on other tangles, you could do that in the background without touching this, because this does take a little bit to set. I like to leave it for a minimum of 2 hours. So I'm going to leave it that way for now, and then we'll come back and then we'll finish the tangle. Okay, I am back to another drying part. It hasn't been quite 2 hours. I thought I'd add another tangle that I wasn't planning on. This tangle I've done before. It's called Foundabout by Zentangle. It's a Zentangle Tangle, and it is really easy to do. Now I want to leave room for my leaves that I'm going to put off these sunflowers, but I'm not going to do them this way. I'm going to do them with the water soluble pencil, and so I want to leave enough room around both of my sunflowers. So what I'm going to do is start with a curved line, and I'm working with my 01, and put a little bend to it, a little curve, and then come back aura that line or draw behind. Now I'm going to go the other way. Do the same thing about the middle of this line. I'm going to go up and make another one. Been working on so many different textures of papers, I've got to get this one is smooth. Okay, go up about the middle here and do another one. And usually I say draw behind, but this one looks like I made it a little high, so I'm going to put my aura one right here. And another one up here. It's so good to be turning your work always when you work, and when I film I don't turn because it is hard to watch. So, but if you're working on your own, definitely be turning your work and your hand is far more comfortable. Okay, now I can keep going with these. Maybe I'll put 2 more. And 1 over here. And alright, I'll leave it at that. Okay, now step 2 is simple. You want to start at the corner of this one, make a little hill, stop when you get to your bar, pick up, put your pen down again, take off, and land. So it looks like this little stem is coming out of this little leaf. Okay, now we're just going to do the tops right now. So go to your next one, which would be this one. Make a little hill, stop when you get to the stem, and continue down, like so. This one, stop, and down, around, and down. Just finishing these last 2. You can do any number of things with Foundabout. It's a fun tangle. Foundabout has a bottom section too. So what I want to do is start at the opposite corner at the bottom and make that little hill, that line with the little hill, and go to my next one and down, and my next one. You see they seem to be going behind, in and out. It's a twisting vining type of tangle. And I'm just stopping whenever I hit a prior leaf or line. Okay, so there you go. That's basic Foundabout. Now, what you can do with this, the possibilities are endless. You could fill these in with orbs, with color, gel pens. I'm just going to try the highlight. So I'll do that on each one. I'm going to shade right under this line. And I'll use my tortillon and just blend that out slightly. for this one, I want to add just a little curlicue to make it more whimsical. So simply a line, and if you vary the weight of that line, the more whimsical it will get. Okay, so that's Foundabout, and maybe adding a couple more would fill out your page. I'm using the Faber-Castell Graphite Aquarelle pencils. Graphite, they're water soluble. That's what I have. And I have a brush that came with the pencils that I have. It's a Faber-Castell water brush, and this is a size 6. With this one, because I'm making the leaves out of the pencil, I'm going to first make some line strokes, and then I will lightly carry in that wet graphite over. This is now a texture that it will resist the graphite. So that's what I plan to do. So I'm just going to lay in some, I'm not making it look like a leaf yet. I'm going to do that with my water brush. But I'm putting down some graphite that I'll be able to work with. So I'm not really concerned about shape right now. I just am putting in some graphite spaced apart, and then however the brush goes, that's the leaf that we will have. It depends on the stroke you make. Watch what happens when we add some water. Okay, now I started out light because this can get dark very quickly. So I don't want to have a flood of water, but I'm just going to start pulling that out. And it works very much like watercolor. So you can use a thirsty brush to take out some graphite. We can darken this up again. But I'm just going to twist and turn these little segments however they may want to go. Just pulling my brush. If I feel like I have too much water, dry your brush and pick up that extra graphite. I'm going to pick up some graphite and just start first with a light shade, and you'll see your orbs resisting that graphite, giving you a very light texture. I like to work light first and then decide where I want to darken things up. But you see that texture ever so slightly. So I get an idea. Now I think I will use the palette technique where I have a smooth piece of paper. I'm going to move up to my 4B. If you don't have it, just use what you have and just lay it down heavier. And I'm adding some water to this to make a mixture. And I don't want it to get too heavy, so I'm gonna take it off my brush using my Scott towel and just pick up a little bit. And first I'll start in that middle where I want it maybe a little bit darker. And you'll see it start to flow around the orbs. no one way to do anything. There's so many ways to achieve different effects. Just give that a moment to dry. And while I'm waiting for that one to dry, I will go back to my HB and do the same thing over here. These make great backgrounds too that you can tangle over. Now, because this is a smooth paper, this is a Ohuhu journal that I'm working on. It's not a watercolor paper. So it'll take a little bit longer to dry than if it were a textured watercolor paper or a mixed media paper. Okay, when I do illustrative work, that sometimes I will use this is an Arches hot pressed watercolor paper, and that is a bit spendy, but I like the texture of a bit of hot pressed. Cold pressed has a rougher texture, works really well too. I wouldn't recommend it for your micron pens. You will go through them very quickly. When I do my illustrative work for my books, this is a sanded paper by Brush and Pencil, and it's from the Luxe line, and this is very spendy paper and not something you would tangle on. This is specific for, you know, pastels, colored pencils. It is a rough paper, so that is what I use for my illustrations for my book. I also use Zentangle's tiles for my Zentangle work. Those are 100% base cotton. They have a perfect amount of texture, and they are great to tangle on. So really, it just varies with paper and pens and markers and all of that. You've got to consider the wear and tear on your nibs and your brushes. Some papers can rip apart brushes very easy, so there's a lot to consider. But if you're just tangling, no big deal. Just know that if you're working on a smooth paper that's pretty smooth, that when you work with water or a wet media, it's going to take a bit longer to dry. So this was a water-based marker. An alcohol-based marker will dry very quickly. Okay, so I talked enough that this is dry. So you could go in and just make fine lines with your micron pen, or you could go directly onto this and darken some of the areas up, and then I would probably use a smaller brush so that it wouldn't carry so much graphite. The bigger brush, you know, carries the graphite right out, which is great when you're building the base of your leaf. But I'm just going to shade a little bit in some areas. This one almost is hooked together. I want this to define itself as its own leaf. So I'm just going to put some line work in here. And again, I'll refine it with my brush and maybe my pen. Just depends what look you're going for. And I want the edges. Again, it's going to resist where I laid down that glaze, but it works much better when you do it with water, but it still resists. So I can go over it, and you see the raised dots coming through. And it's a size 0. So let's just work with this one a little bit. Okay, so we just put in a bit of that black So I just want to ever so slightly darken it up. Let's see, if I used my big round brush, I wouldn't get the detail. I just love the varying grays. Again, I think these make beautiful backgrounds. I like making the leaves like that too, because there was no intention, just making those marks and then using the brush to make the leaves. But I'm going to come in with my micron and just add a little stem and maybe detail the middle here just a bit. And I have one other thing I'm going to do is add my glitter pen just ever so slightly on a few of these raised glaze orbs that we did. So let me let that dry a minute. Okay. Let's finish this up with just a bit of detail. I'm going to use my 05 and deepen this area here. It'll resist the glaze, so if you feel that, that's what you're feeling. So I don't want to lose the effect, but I just want to give it a high contrast. This one almost looks like it's lifting off the page a little bit. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to make a tiny little stem, just thin. Maybe I'll shade it a little, darken up just inside the stem to give it some depth. Round that line a little bit. And for this one over here, do the same thing. And when I do pages like this, it's a work in progress. This is something I do to take a break, take my mind off something intense that I may be working on. Something that requires, more precision. It's just wonderful to give my mind a bit of a vacation. In a journal like this, I just keep building. So I thought it would be fun and a quick way that I could keep sharing videos and tangles when I have breaks in between. So I will just add a little bit of my acrylic glitter pen. I just want to add in between the texture. I love these. Just a few little dots. Not taking away the textured effect, but just giving it another element of dimension. And just do a little bit of cross hatching, the light flicks, just little flicks, varying lengths. I have got to clean this up and get back to work. So that's it for this time, and I'll show you where I'm at for the next one on the various projects that I showed you. So I hope you have a great day. Prayers to everyone, and much love. Keep tangling through it all, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.